Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing the cheap art supplies challenge. I've seen this challenge been done by lots of different people and I'm excited to do it myself. I only bought a few things for this. I didn't go overboard with the cheap art supplies. I find it a bit weird that I don't want to buy stuff that I'm going to have no use for whatsoever. Everything I bought, even though it is incredibly cheap, is stuff that I intend to use afterwards if, and only if, I actually get good results from these. So let's get on to the supplies. So the first thing I have here is just a HB pencil. This is from a very cheap art set that I had quite a while ago, but you can buy these for like 50p each, which are very cheap. The next thing I got were these brushes. I think these were £3 for the set of 4, which is very, very cheap. That makes them less than £1 each. And honestly, where I was shopping, you couldn't really buy art supplies that were more expensive. That you couldn't really buy art supplies that were worse quality than this unless they came in a set, like a kind of beginner's children's set. I figure with this challenge that even though all of this stuff is very, very cheap, it's not off the bat really poor quality. I feel like doing a cheap art supply challenge doesn't mean that you have to do a bad art supply challenge. They are very different. You can get decent art supplies for a cheap price, but I'm just testing out how decent are these actual like very, very cheap products. These are the 4 brushes. I got them in 4 different sizes: the 1, the 8, the 3 and the 5. The next thing are these Simply Watercolor by Dalla Rowney. These are 6 and they were £3, which means that this is 50p per tube, which is very, very cheap. So they come in 6 colours, which are your basic, primary, a green, a white and a black. Oh, the tubes are actually quite nice. You know, they've got quite a nice design on them. That's not bad actually. So we've got black, sap green, ultramarine, crimson, lemon yellow and white, which I think is a good mix of colours there. The next thing I got was a palette. This is the cheapest palette I could find. It was £1. It's definitely for kids, as it says, big kids, or big kids choice. It's Royal and Langnickel, which did the paint brushes. Royal and Langnickel are kind of known in the UK. I don't know about other places in the world, but they're known in the UK for being very budget, but also being quite low quality because they're budget. But I figured this was a good enough palette to use. It's got 6 wells, which will be good for our 6 watercolours, but it's got quite a small mixing centre, which not too sure how that's gonna go, but we will test it out. That's the whole point. And finally, I got this sketchbook. This was £1 for this sketchbook, and it's not that actually bad quality. It's 140 GCM. I don't know how many pounds it is, but I took the liberty of taking out the middle sheet for us to use rather than us using the actual sketchbook, because I do want to use the sketchbook for something else. So we're just going to use this sheet and see how the paper fares. And in terms of an eraser, I just have this super cheap one that I already have. It's just a non-brand. This doesn't tell you anything except that it's an eraser. So this is just the eraser that we'll be using. So these are all the products we're going to be using today and testing out, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so first I want to test out the watercolors and swatch them and see. Let's make this bigger like that. These are the watercolors and they're just a normal kind of pop the cap thing. I'm going to put the black in here. I don't like having my black and white near to each other because I find that then there's a very high chance that there'll be grey happening, which sometimes is what you want, but only on purpose. This is the sap green, which I kind of like this colour of green, so that's nice. It also bodes well that these colours have names. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I've always found that with any product, whether that be art products or makeup products or whatever, if things don't have a name, normally that kind of implies that it's cheaper quality. I don't know why that holds up, but it definitely used to when I used to be really into makeup. So the fact that these have proper names rather than just green, blue, red, yellow, it's kind of a good sign. The thing that I'm finding with these is they are quite liquidy. They're not kind of, I guess, they're just a lot liquidier than I would hope. That's not a word. That one's a bit more goopy. So, not quite sure. Not quite sure about the consistency, or the consistency of the consistency. There we go, so we've got all of our colours. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say is that I'll be doing line art with a biro. Damn it, why didn't I say that at the beginning? I'm still quite new to this whole making art videos thing. So if you guys have any tips on how to not forget shit like this, then please let me know. But I'm going to be lining with a very basic biro that you can get for like 20p. Okay, so let's first test out this HB pencil. I don't think I've actually used this pencil before, but I got it a long time ago. So the first thing that I'm finding with this pencil is that it's quite hard, and of course, you know, it's a HB, not like a 2B or a 3B or whatever, so it's not going to be soft. But the pigment is good, like the graphite is good. It's not, you don't have to work very hard to put something on the page. Let's swatch these biros. Oh, these aren't, I don't think they're going to be that great for line work. I'm gonna be honest. They're not like very black, and also they're not very consistent. So if we kind of do a line, I guess that's relatively consistent. Okay, so the watercolor and these paint brushes. So these are quite, well, they're very bendy, I guess. But they're quite stiff at the moment. I guess they'll probably ease up when they see water. Oh no, see, this is still quite stiff at the end. You see that? That's like, it's quite well, stiff, that's the only word I can use. Let's see, let's swatch some colours. So let's take this black. Well, that's a pretty good black. It's everything you really want in a black, to be honest. Wet that out. It's very fluid. The paint is incredibly fluid, which is something that quite a lot of people like. So that's really good. In terms of the pigmentation, you can already see that it's not quite solid. It's not quite, I guess, full consistency. See that it's getting quite grainy, but not in a kind of watercolor way, more in a sort of drying uneven way, and it's losing its vibrancy as it dries. Decent enough colours, but like I said, the consistency isn't all there. I feel like these colours have the high potential to get muddy very quickly because of the way that the pigment is so free that it will just completely blend into everything. This probably bodes well for reactivation, that it will reactivate quite well. Although maybe it won't. I don't really know a lot about what I'm talking about. I'm just having fun. I think that's more of like a pinky red than a red, but I guess it is a crimson. And finally we have the yellow, which is that it's weird and goopy. It's goopy. I'm not quite sure about it. So those are the swatches of the colours. In terms of the paintbrush, I'm really having no issue with the paintbrush. Like, the fibres aren't coming off. There's still that kind of stiffness, but it's definitely gone down a significant amount. But in terms of the way that the paintbrush paints, it's quite I don't know, I don't really have any complaints. The paper quality, I mean, it's definitely buckling a lot. You can kind of see that in all of these little kind of shadows here. And you can see the graininess of the paper behind it, but not in a kind of nice watercolor way, more in a sort of bubbly way, I guess. Now we've swatched everything, I want to start a sketch and see if we can make something, a piece of art. What I'm also finding with this is that it's not really like the paper doesn't like being erased very much, and I don't know whether that's because of the eraser or whether that's because of the actual paper. Okay, I think we're ready for the line art. So we're using this Bic Soft Feel biro, and we'll see how this fares. Lots of people actually like using biros to line, and I'm not saying that that's not a good thing or that's, you know, but I don't really know how to do that. And I think the problem with buying a cheap one like this one is that it's not consistent. It's not like, at the moment I'm trying quite hard to get the ink out and it's really not cooperating with me. And also obviously with these kind of pens you can't really adjust the thickness. Biros typically only really come in one kind of thickness. I'm really, like, my hand is hurting because I'm really trying to use the kind of pressure to get it out. Okay, so I think I'm done with the line work. Now, here's my next question is, can I erase this without it smudging everywhere? Let's try doing the hair because, oh, okay, there's a little bit of smudge, but it's not terrible. Right, so I want to try and attempt to mix a skin tone. So I'm going to use a smaller brush for this, not the bigger one. I'm going to use the number 5. And I'm going to try and use this tiny little well here to mix some kind of a skin tone. I think this is a really good exercise for people who don't really know how to mix colours properly, like me, because it forces you to get real back to basics and be really simplistic with your colour mixing. Okay, that's the kind of colour I want for some shadows. So let's... So the pen is smudging a little bit, but not all that much, only noticeable if you look at it really close up. So that's fine, but I am, my kind of suspicions of earlier are confirmed that this does look a bit muddy. But that's fine, let's continue. And yeah, you can see that kind of bobbling effect. I'll show you close up when it's dry. But yeah, it is quite bobbly at the moment. Yeah, the paper really isn't coping with this watercolor very well, and it's getting really quite muddy. The one thing I will say about this watercolor is that it stays where you put it. So even though it runs freely in terms of it's quite liquid, where you put it, it does stay. So when I'm doing close-up work, it doesn't, you know, merge into the other colours, which is good. Even though this isn't fully dry yet, that's quite a positive thing. I want to kind of fade that out, try and fade it out a bit. I've got a High School Musical 2 song stuck in my head because me and my friend, we did the High School Musical drinking game on Sunday night because we know how to party. Okay, I think we're done. So this is the end result, and I've got to say, it performed well enough. I think the problems we have with the watercolours here are that it dried and mixed quite muddy. If we look a bit closer, the colours kind of separate from each other. There's no kind of nice blending, which I suppose is a style that someone might enjoy. I think the sort of basis of this is that you can make good art with less money. So altogether, to create this, you had to spend £9, which is cheap. And also, not to mention that these have reuse value. So I think you could get a good, a long time using these. They will last you a while. They are 12 milliliters, so they will last you a while. The brushes, I don't really know how long that these will last you specifically, but I can't imagine, because none of these I had no issues with the hair breaking off or finding bits of the paintbrush around the paper, so I think this will last you quite a while. It all depends on your skill level. In terms of creating a piece with cheap art supplies, that doesn't have to mean low quality art supplies. It's all about the practice that you put in, and it's all about how you use the products you have. There is absolutely no point, if you're a beginner, and spending like £100 on a fantastic artist quality set, because it doesn't mean that you're going to make amazing art. It just means that perhaps the quality of the colours might be a bit higher, but if you don't know how to blend colours, or if you don't know how to shade, or if you don't know any of that, you know, you've got to learn before you go into the deep stuff, before you spend the money. Good quality art supplies doesn't mean a good quality art piece, and poor quality art supplies doesn't necessarily mean a poor art piece. But that is the end of my little ramble. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. If you have any comments or want to share anything, or if you want to do this challenge yourself, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.